Trip event, Red Lobster, share the love.
Expect fair skies on Thursday and Friday, and on Saturday, expect a chance of rain.
It's 10 minutes to the top of the hour. Time to take a look at our tropics. And boy, we've been quite busy for about the last week to week and a half. The 10th officially marks the peak time of our Atlantic hurricane season. So we have certainly hit a climax here, and it's all downhill from here and thereafter. Nonetheless, we still have quite a bit to talk about, so let's get started. There are three things to talk about in the Atlantic Basin. One is our tropical depression near the Cape Verde. The other, quite obvious here, our hurricane Isabel, right now sitting across the central areas of the Atlantic. And lastly, believe it or not, we're still talking about Henri. So let's start off with the biggest of the systems. This here is Hurricane Isabel. Boy, you can tell that there's quite a bit of a nice spin with this outflow. Well, we've been a little hindered here on the backside of it around the northeast. We have an upper flow coming in from the northwest. Still, that's not going to do anything to decrease its intensity, which is at about 135 mile per hour winds right now, placing that in the category of a 4. There are 5 categories on the Saffir-Simpson scale, and right now we are looking at a very strong hurricane when it reaches into the category 4 area, and that's exactly where it is. But where is it located? It's located 875 miles east-northeast of the Leeward Islands, currently moving west-northwest at 14 miles per hour. But we have our ridge sitting across here in the Atlantic, and that is slowly going to begin to drive this a bit further to the west, possibly. So we're going to keep an eye on this over the next several days. Nonetheless, you can see that we here at the Weather Channel think over the next several days we could be talking about this system affecting possibly the islands. That's still a ways out, but we like to look that far out and see what possibilities we have, especially when you're talking about a Category 4 hurricane, the second major hurricane now of the season for the year 2003. Over the next few days, though, you can see it still will remain well to the east of the islands. Now let's talk about our tropical depression. It's number 14, rather ill-organized. You're going, okay, where is it located here? Well, it's actually located just to this, right around the vicinity of the Cape Verde Islands. A little hard to find, I know, especially when you can't really tell on that satellite infrared. Nonetheless, winds are at 30 miles per hour, and it's moving northward at 12 miles per hour. We're not too concerned about this system as we are, of course, with Isabel. As far as Henri, what's left of Henri, we are slightly concerned with this because it has certainly been bringing up those waves here around the Outer Banks. 10 to 15 feet waves is what we're dealing with. So just be on the lookout for those abnormal waves if you're not used to that along the beach areas. Make sure you pay attention to what's going on in the vicinity. You could be looking at another fairly windy day here. And windy it may also be a bit further inland. Look at this big trough carving out across the west. One piece of energy moving northward, another piece of energy coming in out of the northwest, and all that energy spilling now into the central plains. And that's going to be the area we'll be dealing with the strongest of the thunderstorms through the early morning hours. I'll give you more details as long as Warren sticks around with me, which he will, right after this.
Evening Edition is sponsored by A Diamond is Forever. Show her how much you love her.
Longer than time. Love is one of them. For your past, present, and future, the 3-stone ring. A diamond is forever.
You could save up to 70% on term life insurance. Watch.
Everyone wants security for their family. So I started thinking, do I have enough insurance? Could I afford more? So I called Zurich Direct. It was easy. In minutes, I had a free quote for a policy I could afford.
Expect fair skies Friday through Sunday with temperatures in the 70s on Friday.
A powerful Category 4 hurricane is moving closer to the Caribbean. This is your tropical update. I'm Nick Walker. Isabel, is our main story here in the Atlantic, but we're still watching the remnant low from what was Tropical Depression Henri, bringing some high surf and some dangerous rip currents all the way from North Carolina beaches up toward the shores around Atlantic City. We'll keep an eye on that, but this is the one to watch, a very healthy-looking hurricane as it gets closer and closer to the Lesser Antilles. Here are the islands right out here, and as we get toward the weekend, these could be affected. Probably the northern Leeward Islands the most by some heavy surf, or maybe even more than that. But we'll have to keep an eye on Isabel, as it is 785 miles east-northeast of the Leeward Islands currently, moving now in a more westerly direction than the northwesterly direction at 14 miles an hour, with winds, sustained winds in the center of 135 miles an hour. Its forecast track would take it near the islands as we get toward the weekend, but anywhere from Puerto Rico all the way to the Bahamas, Bermuda, up toward even the northern coast of the United States needs to keep an eye on this. There's Isabel. Behind it, a tropical depression, not really going to affect anyone, we think, moving toward the north now at 12 miles an hour with winds in the center of 30 miles an hour. The Caribbean, all together looking pretty good, as is the Gulf of Mexico. The eastern Pacific, just a few thunderstorms rumbling off the Mexican shoreline, but powerful super typhoon Mamie making its way closer and closer to Okinawa. Kim?
And joining us now is Marshall Cease of Your Weather Today. Good morning, Marshall.
Good morning, Kim.
Tell you the storms will continue to threaten the plains.
Looks like that's exactly right. That could make for some rough flights today, too, Kim. Dennis Smith will show us where turbulence may trouble our air travels today. Plus, it's celebrated in song and stories. Dr. John Neese tells us why last night's full moon is one of the most well-known of the year. Now, Kim tells us if cooler weather will cool gas price hikes.
Well, a government study says falling temperatures should bring lower gasoline prices. But the Bloomberg Money Barometer warns, save those pennies. Another fuel will cost you more.
Good morning. The Energy Department is updating consumers on the price they may pay to fill up their gas tanks and heat up their homes. The government said pump prices may be up on average from August levels, but will probably start to decline later this month. U.S. retail gasoline is expected to average $1.67 a gallon in September, up from $1.62 in August. However, the average may fall to $1.55 in October and $1.50 in November. Pump prices soared last month as demand from summer travel increased with improved weather, and refinery and pipeline shutdowns led to lower fuel availability in parts of the United States. Meanwhile, the Energy Department said residential gas prices during the next heating season are expected to be about 10 to 15% higher than last winter. Natural gas supplies are getting closer to normal levels. A cooler than normal summer in parts of the country led to lower air conditioner use and allowed gas companies to build stored inventories. For the Weather Channel, I'm Linda Bell with the Bloomberg Money Barometer.
Hitting the road this weekend, maybe to take in the Notre Dame game at Ann Arbor? Well, you're going to find showers off toward your west, but I think you'll be pretty good there for the Michigan game. And we'll find thunderstorms rumbling through southern Texas on into Louisiana and a few in northern New England. Pretty dry along the East Coast on Sunday, but thunderstorms back toward Detroit and even toward Chicago. But Sunday's concert around Atlanta, Aerosmith and Kiss in an outdoor concert, looks like it's going to be okay. Those guys, how old must they be?
Do you know, Dennis?
I don't dare touch this one because I'm probably older than they are. As we focus in on New York, Philadelphia, and D.C., we're in fine shape. Great travel for today. Get out and enjoy it.
That's it for First Outlook. Have a great day, everyone.
Stay tuned. Your Weather Today is ahead.
I'm Stanley Johnson. I've got a great family. I've got a 4-bedroom house in a great community. Like my car? It's new. I even belong to the local golf club. How do I do it? I'm in debt up to my eyeballs.
Need a smart way to consolidate your debt? At LendingTree.com.
We have a very active Atlantic this Wednesday. We have tropical depression and a hurricane in the Atlantic. Where we're looking is far to the east right now. We have our tropical depression still very close to the coast of Africa. We also have the hurricane, which is, I would say, roughly about halfway across. Hurricane Isabel, and that's what we're watching very closely. We're at it now. Today is the peak, on average, the peak of hurricane season, September 10th. So from now on, we'll be going down the slide here, although still most of September, early October, very active time period. Here's our satellite photograph of the Atlantic. Interesting to see Fabian moving up and away and way out across the North Atlantic. There's Isabel churning for a few days. This is about 3 days worth of pictures, so it is churning its way almost due west, back just to the north of the Leeward Islands, and Tropical Depression 14 very close to the coast of Africa. Hurricane Isabel, 21-3 north, 50.9 west, 11 a.m. Atlantic Standard Advisory, 750 miles east-northeast of the Leewards. Top sustained winds at that point were 135. It's moving west at 12. There's the pressure. That pressure is estimated. Let me show you what's going on. Again, you can see the feature here. This is the hurricane, the Leeward Islands, Puerto Rico right here. Watching the islands closely. Is it going to make an impact on the states? Too early to make that call. It is still quite a few days away, maybe up to a week still if it were to continue in this direction. So there's a lot that could happen before it makes its way over to the states. We're still just watching this closely. Closer view of the picture here showing that we've had, I think, some strengthening going on recently. And what you're looking at to the south here is outflow. It doesn't get much better than this. When you see outflow, at least the southern half, the southern semicircle of this hurricane, to see these filaments of the cirrus blowing away like this, that's about as perfect as you will ever see the outflow. Again, that's the southern semicircle. Northern part of the hurricane, the outflow isn't nearly as arranged as well. Visible satellite photograph. Notice the outflow, those cirrus clouds almost disappear when you look at it from a different perspective. One thing we're watching, though, watch the donut hole at the very end here. Past couple pictures, there's the eye, but we're watching that central dense overcast, this area right here. It appears that it has strengthened some over the past 2 to 3 hours, 4 hours, but it looks like it's undergoing a little bit of a strengthening phase here. Farther off to the west, there's the Leeward Islands. Right now, the current thinking is that it should make its way to the north of the islands. That means you're not going to get any of the effects. It's likely, of course, it's likely that you'll get some high surf, and we'll have to watch it. 5 days out early next week, it could be approaching somewhere toward the Bahamas. So Isabel, we need to watch Isabel very closely. It looks like it has strengthened somewhat over the past couple of hours. Tropical Depression 14, 11 a.m. advisory, 16-3 north, 25-3 west near the Cape Verde Islands. 30 miles per hour. This one is having a tough time. It's being sheared apart by some of these upper air winds. So it's still in the vicinity of the Cape Verde Islands. Not that impressive looking. Farther to the west back here, Gulf of Mexico toward the states, we're looking at fine weather. Active tropical wave, western Caribbean Sea. Right now, nothing to be concerned about. Something we'll also just continue to keep our eyes on. And back over to the islands, looking fine. You can see the islands enjoying a great day today. Northward, interesting to see this. This is what's left of Henri. You can see still a broad circulation center off the coast of the Carolinas. Still some showers and storms. That is what is left of one-time Henri. Back over the coast of Mexico, we have disorganized weather, nothing that important, but you need to look at this here. That is what we call super typhoon. Top sustained winds up near 175 miles per hour, making its way up toward Okinawa. You can see the center of the hurricane or the typhoon here should be making more of a curve to the north. Very strong system. Back here in the States, we could find strong thunderstorms building in the plains. We'll have a look at this, plus your forecast coming up right after your local on the 8s.
Peanut?
Have another.
expect a chance of rain Friday through Sunday, with temperatures in the 70s on Friday.
Welcome back. It's 10 minutes before the hour, and that means it's time for your tropical update. Let's check in with our hurricane expert, Dr. Steve Lyons. And Steve, all eyes are on Isabel, and it's an incredibly strong hurricane. What's the latest?
It's a Category 4, in fact, Christina, and it's not showing any signs of weakening anytime soon. The good news is it's still far from land, and we don't expect it to be on land for the next 5 days. Here's the latest statistics, the two most important things. Wind strength, 140 miles per hour, that's Category 4, and moving west at 12 miles per hour. There you see it out there. The latitude of this, in other words, how far north it is already north of the Leeward Islands and Puerto Rico, and we do not expect it right now to take a dip far enough south to get a direct hit on those islands. But it's going to be close, and you're going to see some significant wave action there. Here's Puerto Rico, here are the Leeward Islands, and here's our very powerful Category 4 hurricane, Isabel, as it moves to the west. Now notice the circulation has well-defined outflow to the west and to the east, and that's what's making the system so powerful. To the north, it looks a little bit shy of deep shower action, and that's because there's subsidence associated with a big ridge of high pressure, but that same ridge is what's driving it to the west. We don't see any change over the next few days in which way this system goes, so we expect it to continue on basically in a westward track, maybe a little bit slightly north of west, north of the islands, bringing 15, maybe as high as 20-foot wave action to the north shores of the northern islands, Puerto Rico included, and then by 5 days, very close to the southern Bahamas or a little bit farther to the north, heading in the general direction of Florida and the southeastern United States. Still a long way from land, so if you're over here, you need to be tracking the situation carefully, but not to worry yet. But keep your eye on it because it doesn't look like it's going to have a chance to turn. The remainder of tropical Atlantic relatively quiet tonight. Our tropical depression out here is just about dissipated. It's showing no signs of doing anything. Tropical wave moving into the Nicaragua-Honduras area. Rain overnight there. No tropical development. Now off the east coast, off Cape Hatteras, we have 15-foot seas and wave action running that high for the next 24 hours with winds upwards of 30 miles per hour just offshore. So blustery weather there, but in the Gulf of Mexico and the remainder of the Windward Islands, great weather there. What about the Western Pacific and the Eastern Pacific? Eastern Pacific is quiet, heading down to Mexico. Great news there. Let's head out to the Western Pacific. We have a super typhoon. This is Maimi. You can see the eye associated with it, and look, it went right over that island. That island is Miyakojima Island, and they reported a pressure of 922 millibars about 2 hours ago. That's as low a pressure as we had in Hurricane Andrew. So this is a very powerful typhoon. It's going to move across that island and then turn more toward the north, toward the major islands of Japan. As it does so, it will weaken, but expect some blustery weather up the southern Japanese island chain over the next 24 hours. Well, that's the latest on the tropics this hour. Let's get back to some severe weather with Christina.
All right, hurricane expert Dr. Steve Lyons, thanks for the update. And indeed, we do have severe weather. A number of severe weather watches are in effect. Tornado watches in red and a severe thunderstorm watch in yellow. And we have seen a lot of stormy weather developing here through the central states, including here in the panhandle of Texas. You've seen a lot of stormy weather here along I-40, but we're also seeing stormy weather farther northward in Kansas. As a matter of fact, you can see some of these storms extending back down toward Dodge City and then farther northward into Smith County in north central Kansas. A tornado warning is in effect for you. Look out in Ethel, Smith Center, Bel Air, and Lebanon. These are all in the path of this storm.
And there's much more to come on the second hour of Weather Center, including an update on severe weather and what's ahead for your weekend.
Stay with us. We'll be back after your local on the 8th.
This program was brought to you by the Home Depot. You can do it. We can help.
The Home Depot is more than a store. It's an all-night diner, an indoor playground. It's kitchen possibilities you never thought were possible, with more unbelievable styles and options to choose from. And now